I don't know if you checked lately at the leaderboard for worldwide storefronts. Number one, 7-Eleven. Number two, with 60, I think it's 68,000. Number two, Subway, with, it kind of varies. Some sites say 44, others say 39,000, somewhere in there. And number three is McDonald's with 38,000 stores worldwide. To give you a little perspective, Chick-fil-A, guess how many Chick-fil-A has, right? Let's hear the guess. Okay, they only have 2,600 stores in the entire world. What am I even trying to say? McDonald's has 15 times the amount of stores that Subway has. That's craziness, right? Here's the story of McDonald's, at least from one perspective, right? It's called The Founder. It's an amazing movie, so many lessons to learn from it. We're going to get into that right now. Lesson number one is the difference between an S and a B. It explains. I haven't seen a movie that does a better job explaining the difference between a small business and a big business. And big business gets a lot of flack from the Socialist Party, from big government party. They say they take advantage of people and they're mean and they hurt people's feelings and they fire people. And small business, good, it's better to be small. Well, really, it shows the contrast of how awful it is to be a small business and how great it is to be a big business, right? It shows that in this movie. Now, whatever you want to do, that's your prerogative, right? But it just shows the example. The two brothers, the McDonald's brothers, if you haven't seen the movie, the two McDonald's brothers come up with this idea, and they name it after themselves, after Dick and Mac McDonald. They call it McDonald's, right? And they invent this system of making hamburgers and French fries and doing it in a way that's very automated, right? Well, then Ray Kroc, but they can't. They one can't, and two don't want to expand. They say they share that, hey, we have this home right here in the country. We want to stay right here in San Bernardino. We don't want to try to expand and open up more shops. It's just more hassle to us. We want to stay in our one location and run it ourselves and run it to perfection, right? Because nobody else can do it better than us. Whereas Ray Kroc, he comes around and he sees this idea. He's like, oh my gosh, we could take this worldwide. We could take this national. Let's go ahead and start expanding. They're like, no, we don't want to deal with that. And Ray Kroc's like, well, please let me start to expand it. And you can have a portion of the locations that I go and expand and I do all the work because it was your idea. They're like, all right, you can go ahead and do that. Well, Ray Kroc ends up making the third largest company by store size in the world, right? That's Ray Kroc. That's big business. He was thinking big, monumental. I'm going to have teams running this. I'm not going to be running it myself. I'm going to have this. And he was a sales guy and he went out and sold the business. And it just explains that difference between what a small business is like and you have to run it yourself and you're the only one who can do it versus big business where you have to rely on teams and other people and trust in people and say, let's make this into a big company versus staying at one small company, right? Lesson number two is there's a famous line in the movie, and it goes like this. He's sitting down. I'll give you a little backstory. He goes to the bank, and Ray Kroc is running out of money, and the banker turns him down, and he leaves the bank, and a guy stops him. He's like, hey, Mr. Kroc, I really like what you're doing here. I really like the McDonald's. He's like, okay, awesome. I'm super glad. He's like, I think I could help you out with your little problem. He goes back to his office with him, and he's looking over the notes, and he's like, so basically, you have a contract that's very limited, and you only make 0.5% off of the total amount of sales from each of the stores, which is practically nothing. And he starts lifting off all these problems. He's like, Ray Kroc's like, is there a problem? He's like, There's a big one. It's like, you don't realize what business you're in. You're not in the hamburger business. You're in the real estate business. And it's just light bulbs went off. Wait a second. And he's like, you don't build an empire off taking a 0.5% off of a 15-cent hamburger. You build an empire off of the land, but underneath where that hamburger is cooked. Land, not hamburgers. And that's what McDonald's became the best in the world at. They're not a hamburger business. The hamburger business is just the front. They're actually a real estate company. They know what business they're in. Do you know what business you're in? I'll give you one other personal example. This was a sad story for me. Recently, I sold my company. We had a dance hall and a country dance hall, and it was cash flowing a good amount. It was cash flowing $10,000 a month, and we're like, hey, we want to sell. We want to move on to bigger and better things. So we went ahead and sold that company. Right, the guy who bought it, he actually was talking with one of my good friends, and he told my good friend, he said, I don't think that we just bought a country dance hall company. We just bought a social media company. And it was interesting because I had built up the company on also all the social media channels to have several million followers. But I always told people, hey, it does no good if I have several million followers if I can't monetize it, if I can't make money off of these followers. It doesn't matter. It's just kind of like, oh, cool, I have a couple million followers. Well, this guy, he was able to turn on ads, and he started running ads, and the first month he made $10,000. Then it went to $20,000. Then it went to $50,000, and now it's at $100,000 a month. Are you flipping kidding me? And that just blew my mind. I didn't know what business I was in. I thought I was in the country dance business. It was really a social media company with dancing providing the content for the social media. Interesting, huh? Think about that for yourself. What business are you really in, and what business should you really get into, right? Lesson number 3 is you can't believe everything you're told. In this movie, it just makes Ray Kroc look like the worst snake in the world, that he takes advantage. Here's these two innocent McDonald's brothers, and they're just so genuine and so loving and church-going people and good morals, and Ray Kroc's over there cutting people's throats and cheating on his wife and all this stuff, right? And if you just take it at face value, you're like, oh my gosh, Ray Kroc, what a horrible guy. McDonald's brothers, what good guys. Well, I recently, and I actually am going through this book for the second time. It's called The Making of McDonald's. It's Grinding It Out, The Making of McDonald's. It's by Ray Kroc himself. It's his autobiography, which was written back, I think, in 1977. And this movie, The Founder, came out in the 2010s. So 40 years after he wrote his autobiography. In his autobiography, he explains his side of the story. And his side of the story is actually the opposite, 40 years before the movie, that the brothers were actually trying to swindle him. And that he had attorneys telling him, saying, don't do business with these brothers. These guys are trying to catch you in a trap, and they're trying to take advantage of you, right? What's the moral of the story? Nobody really knows. None of us were really there for the brothers and Ray Kroc. Who actually knows what happened? The way I look at it is like this. Because I have no way of knowing, when I watch a movie, I take it with a grain of salt. And I don't take it as history, this is what happened, or as fact. I say, if this were to happen, if this was the case, then what can I learn from it? And what would I do in their shoes? And same when I'm reading the book. If this happened, then what would I do, and what would be the case? The only weird thing about the movie is that with this they made this movie in the time where media is trying to make big business out to be the bad guy, entrepreneurs to be evil, and all these principles that they're trying to drive. They express all of those same principles, and so it kind of demotivates you and say, I don't want to be like Ray Kroc. I don't want to be like I don't want to have a big business. I would rather be like the McDonald's brothers and stay small and stay where they were with their one location, right? And so it's sad in that respect, because when I watch the movie, I can put all that aside and I can learn all the lessons from it. But a lot of people, when they're watching the movie, and I'm giving you this as a heads up, when you're watching the movie, don't let the fact that they make Ray Kroc look like he's the worst person ever get in the way of the lessons that you can learn. Maybe it's true. Maybe it is the worst person ever. But again, there's always two sides of the story, and we don't know what actually happened, right? My challenge to you is go ahead, watch The Founder. I have the link below. Watch it this week, and after you watch it, continue watching one inspirational movie every single week, and that will make you a better person and a better entrepreneur, better salesman, and become more and more inspired. Until next time.